Afternoon YouTube. Today I'm going to talk about the state of farming in the world and 5 easy stages where we can make farming more profitable and more productive for the world. First of all, let's make a disclaimer. There are still famines in this world, unfortunately, but they are not caused by low productivity as such. We have more than enough food to feed the world. The trouble is its distribution. Okay. The first thing we need to do to make distribution more equitable is to get rid of all duties, all tariffs, all import and export taxes, because these alter markets, these put national boundaries in the midst of the world economy. Well, national boundaries are to do with politics, they have nothing to do with economics, and by stopping different parts of the world from cooperating, even if they're on the other side of the world, can cause immense difficulties. It means that some countries stockpile on food whilst others starve. It's easy to associate free trade with neoliberals in the right, but in fact in this country, first Labour government in 1924 was elected on Free Trade Manifesto. Historically, it's been the Conservatives who have wanted tariffs, because they do increase the profits of some lucky farmers, but at the expense of society. So, tariffs, duties, export subsidies, get rid of them. Next thing we need to get rid of is, of course, the dreaded common agricultural policy of Europe. This was introduced at the end of the Second World War as an emergency. It was meant to make sure that farmers kept on producing food to prevent a famine after the Second World War. Perfectly fair enough then, but that was 64 years ago. Why do they still need subsidies? Why do farmers deserve subsidies more than failed businessmen or unemployed people or homeless people? Why do they deserve subsidies? As I said, it's not like we're not producing enough food. That is not the problem. The reason, of course, we still have farm subsidies is because democracies are inherently cowardly. Once they are given a route of privilege, and they're bound to the state by that privilege, they decide never to get rid of it because it's too risky during the election, even though only 1% of us farmers are actually influenced. So all subsidies must go. If a farm is too inefficient to make profit, let them sell up, let it die, let it merge, whatever. But why should the ordinary public support failing farms when there's more than enough food in the world to feed everyone? In fact, New Zealand, when the Labour government took over a few years ago, they got rid of tariffs and subsidies in agriculture, and now it has one of the most efficient agricultural sectors in the world. Next, we need to end this ridiculous opposition to genetically modified crops. What do people think domestic animals and domestic crops are that genetically modified? We've simply found a way of speeding up the system. And environmentalists are always whinging about herbicides and pesticides creating damage to the environment. Well, with GM crops, you won't need so many. You won't need so many artificial fertilizers. So this will reduce the need for production of all those dangerous chemicals. Genetic modification is what we've been doing, is how we got the chihuahua from the wolf. It's how we got the domestic cat from the Egyptian jungle cat. It's how we got the pig from the warthog, the pig from the wild boar, rather. The stories that have been told about genetically modified crops are quite ridiculous. You know, we already have interbreeding of different breeds. And every scientific innovation, especially when it relates to food, has provoked fear. Until 1815, potatoes were almost unheard of in France, even though they'd been introduced to Ireland centuries before. They thought the potatoes caused leprosy. And chocolate was thought to be poisonous by the British for a couple of centuries after it was discovered. People are frightened and think we've got to overcome that in this day and age. Next, end the production of natural textiles, replace them with synthetic textiles, and then all that land that's been used to grow cotton, scissor, rubber could be converted to growing food, or maybe converted to natural habitats, and this would reduce the market price of food and relieve pressure on the environment. Of course, it'll be a long time before they create synthetic textiles which are comfortable, but it is feasible. We've virtually replaced natural dyes with synthetic dyes, and given all the other technological innovations that are happening at the moment, making our clothes all out of chemicals isn't such a big deal, is it? Yeah. And next, most important of all, we've got to end these ridiculous selling restrictions. No wonder our farmers are impoverished. They may have plenty of land, but they don't have much money. They can't convert that land into liquid capital because Britain has some of the worst planning restrictions of the world. I mean, house building has fallen to the lowest level since 1924 because you have to get planning permission for almost anything just for putting a conservatory on. It's ridiculous. This is serious for farmers because the easiest way to make a profit out of farming in this country is to sell your land to property developers. So all those small farms that wouldn't be able to survive without subsidies could sell their land to property developers. They could move on into other businesses. And we find that a terrible idea, the idea of selling a farmer. But there's no logical reason for being upset about this, because as I have said twice before, we have enough food to feed everyone. We shouldn't be worried about farms going bust. Like we don't kick too much of a fuss when a small business goes. So why should we make a fuss over a small farm? And these planning restrictions, like the green belt, they've actually been bad for the environment because it means people have to live in these soulless new towns about 30 miles away, and there's very few jobs in these towns, and they're very dull. No disrespect to anyone from those new towns, and I'm sure you'll agree with me. They have to commute across the green belt, 30 miles to work, 30 miles back. London's where virtually all the jobs are. This creates air pollution. If they had just let London expand naturally, people would be living closer and house prices would be lower. This is why so many, I mean, I've only just moved out from my parents, that's I'm 25. There's loads of other people now in this position. This is creating social problems. So, farmers would be able to bail themselves out of bankruptcy very easily if they could just sell their land, or if they could experiment. And in fact, it reduces the value of their land, the fact that they can't sell it to whoever they want, that reduces its value. So at the moment we have small farms not making a profit, using inefficient methods, getting taxpayers' money in the form of subsidies, and not allowed to sell their land to property developers who really want it and who can make that land socially useful. Okay? That's the rant over. I hope I haven't offended anyone. Sorry, Milton Keynes, but you can't answer me. See you later, YouTube. Bye.